Look at this. It's rain. It's not even raining. It's snowing. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm at Brands Hatch, and and welcome to Race Stream now. Fast forward a couple of hours after lunch break and the action has resumed on track. So I'm here today at Brands Hatch because it's the 750 Club Racing Motor Championship that's here, and I've just met up and chatted with a guy called Sam Mckee over lunch break, and I managed to catch a bit of an interview with him by his car just about getting into motorsport and his personal experience over his, well, this being his third season, so his 2 years of racing so far. So here you go. I'm here with Sam Mckee. He's racing in, what are you racing in?
750 Motor Club's Road Sport Series, which is a sort of mini endurance series of 45-minute races with a pit stop in the middle, which is nice because it means you can do a driver change. You don't have to, but you can, without any disadvantage in time. So it means you can share the race with friends, or as I'm doing tomorrow, sharing it with a filmography student who's doing a documentary on club racing.
Yeah, so I think this Alex, is it?
That's right, Alex.
Yeah,
Baldwin.
so Alex Baldwin's a university student who's doing a series at the moment where he's documenting entering motorsport for the first time, which is really good. So once he puts that together, definitely check it out. That'd be good, yeah. So how long have you been racing for then?
This is my third season now. Will be tomorrow anyway when we start. I did 2 seasons in this series in road sports.
Yeah.
But this year we're moving up to do the Club Enduro Championship, which is 2 and 3 hour races. It takes us around all the main circuits in the UK. We're at Donington next weekend. We're doing Silverstone twice, and we're doing Spa in July.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So that's.
Have you ever been outside of this country before?
Not for racing, no. Not in my own car. Spectating and supporting things, yes, but not in my own car. So it'll be interesting. In terms of regulations and the way everything's run, it's all pretty much the same. But it's obviously a lot more pressure in being 500 miles from home.
Yeah.
And it's a double header as well. 100-minute race on Saturday, and then again on the day after.
Yeah, so that's a long time. So bit of an intro to Sam. So he's here in his BMW today, and he's got all of his kit in the car with him. So when you go abroad, are you going to be taking all of the gear with you in your car? You're going to have support for that?
I might get a van for this one, just so that we can carry enough spares,
Yeah,
because particularly with it being a 2-day, 2 races one after the other, it'd be a shame to break something simple and not have it.
Yeah.
But I still plan to drive the car there, so that'll be.
Yeah, that's the point. Do you need a like an international race license for going abroad, or can you get by on a national B?
No, you can't do it on national B.
Right.
Generally, to race in Europe, you need national A.
Right. Okay.
But whether you need an international license depends on who's operating the meeting. So if it's an FIA race, you need international C. But
Right,
because
okay.
we're still being run by a local race club rather than an international meeting,
Right,
we can do it on Nat A, which is really helpful because that's only £100 a year. Whereas international C, you need a full medical with. They do stress ECGs and all sorts of stuff, and the license is a lot more expensive.
Nice. So for Alex Racing today, is this his first race?
First ever race, yeah.
Wow.
Tomorrow. So we had him here testing on Friday and 2 weeks ago at Donington to learn the car really. Got 200 miles done at Donington. Got on really well with it. Pace was pretty good. I made a few improvements to the car. The setup's a bit nicer now, and he went very quickly yesterday. So I was really happy.
That's good.
Last time I was here, I qualified in road sports with a 57.2, and Alex got down to 57.5 yesterday. So I'm really happy
That's
with
decent,
that. For only driving the car on this circuit for 40 minutes, that's quick.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. So
absolutely.
what have you got?
It's worrying, actually.
Huh?
It's worrying actually.
Well, it's good. It's good for him, isn't it? If he's like 3 tenths off and he's
Absolutely, it's really
a
impressive.
total novice. Yeah, it's good. Yeah. So, are you running on slicks for this? I mean, not necessarily in this weather, but
no, we're not allowed to use slicks.
Okay.
One of the big cost control things in club racing is tyres. So
Yeah.
some championships use a control tyre, where there's a specified tyre everyone has to buy from the organisers. So then you can't be using anything fancy or special.
Okay.
Motorsport UK have lists of tyres that are approved for racing, treaded tyres. So what we've got on here is Nankang's AR1, which is basically a really, really focused track day tyre. So it behaves a little bit like a slick in that it behaves better when it's warm. It needs temperature in it to really grip properly, and the grip is far higher than a road tyre. but it is road legal and it is treaded. So
It's just got a really aggressive car on it, so you wouldn't want to drive it.
yeah, exactly. Well, in fact, we'll get one out.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, so it's your typical semi-slick, basically.
Here's
Yeah,
one
so
we
this
prepared
is how
earlier.
crowded the car is with all this space.
Yeah, it's because it's not racing
mental.
today. It's been
Yeah.
left full. So this is a lightly used, pre-loved AR1. It's got a much stiffer sidewall than most road tyres. It's barely compressing at all, even without any pressure. And the tread is really quite aggressive. So they're okay in the damp. If there's a lot of standing water, you'd probably start to have problems.
What, do you aquaplane?
Yeah, exactly, because there's not enough tread to
just
properly
can't
clear
clear
the
it,
water,
yeah.
it will just sort of skate across.
Yeah.
So if it's really wet, we have Uniroyal Drain Sports as well.
So you've got 2 sets of tyres?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't like to drive on the road with these because while they do work, obviously you imagine if I'm driving home in the dark and wet and it's 4 degrees
Yeah, you don't want
in
to
a
be doing
racing
that.
car full of kit on these, nah. And plus you never know if you're going to get a puncture or if you'll wear them away and you might not have road legal tread at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I use a separate set of tyres for the road.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Just
So-
to keep it safe.
Sam had a bit of a problem earlier yesterday, or was it today, in scrutineering?
It was yesterday. It's really annoying actually because I like to sell the principle that you can drive a car to a race meeting and drive it home afterwards, and there's no reason why more people shouldn't. I'm really trying to sell that.
Yeah.
Which was fine for 2 seasons, and then yesterday my alternator died, which is really
Sucks.
irritating.
Yeah.
So I think it failed somewhere around Alex's last session, and then in the scrutineering queue you can feel the battery just fading away. So the car's currently immobilised, but. The nice thing about club racing is people are always willing to help out. I've been around the paddock and actually found a spare alternator from a competitor in Hot Hatch.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah,
Wait, in
I
a
mean-
hot hatch, so not even the same car?
Well, it's on an E36 compact.
Oh, okay.
So, not
Wow.
one of our competitors, but
Yeah.
But yeah, people are just willing to help out. Basically, everyone wants to see you get out there and race.
Well, that's good.
I've had a small issue in the past at Cadwell 2 years ago. Exhaust mounts failed, leaving the whole back section of the exhaust dragging on the circuit. Put it on class pole like that, of course. But then needed to fix it to be allowed out to race.
Yeah, I was going to say, you didn't. So did they pull you in for that, or
They did.
allow you
They
to finish
did.
the
Yes.
session?
Yes.
Right.
We managed to get a couple of laps done. They pulled us in. We sort of lock wired it in place to get the second driver out to let them qualify. We had to fix it for the race, obviously, because to do 45 minutes like that wasn't going to stand up. But our nearest competitors were helping us out with tools and parts and bits and pieces because they wanted to be able to race us, you know?
Yeah.
Like they were going to get a free victory if we didn't get out there, but they would much rather compete with us, which is really nice.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. It's
We
good.
didn't beat them either, so it paid off for that. I suppose I can't knock the alternator really because it's 22 years old and
Yeah, so-
things fail.
Our
but-
reg is like what year?
97.
97. Wow.
Yeah, it's a 97 car. It's done 191,000 miles now, of which about 15 were me. I bought it on 177, and half of that will be on circuits. So this car has probably done 1,000 laps at Brands Hatch.
This is amazing.
Possibly more. And this year alone, it's already done 600 miles on circuits just in testing.
Yeah, which is crazy when you think about it. Like,
Yeah, it's.
It does all right then. So how much have you had to change to make it race ready, essentially?
The basics that every race car needs. The biggest job is the roll cage. So
Yeah.
you strip out all the interior carpets, original seats, and all that goes, and then a roll cage needs fitting, which is essentially steel tubes, which are creating a safety cell, which is much stiffer than the normal body, because obviously the potential for much bigger accidents in racing.
Yeah.
So that's the cage in here is a safety devices bolt-in cage, so it's assembled in the car and then fitted to the feet, if you like, welded steel plates on the base of the car. That cost around £1,500 supplied and fitted, which I don't think is too bad.
No, that's
actually.
not. It doesn't seem that.
That was done by Automac, by Neil McDonald, who's a big BMW specialist, so it made sense. You need a racing seat as well, what you think of as a bucket seat, but with FIA homologation to say that it's fit for racing. Harnesses as well, 4-point harnesses, or I actually have 6-point in this because it's got other straps which are coming up here,
Right. Okay.
which means in a big front end shunt you won't slide down, which can
that's
cause
good.
spinal damage.
Yeah.
And a fire extinguisher as well, not a handheld one like a rally car, but a plumbed-in one. So you can see the red levers on the outside, and I've got another lever inside the car to trigger the fire extinguisher.
Okay.
And it has nozzles, one on the driver's footwell to me, one for the fuse box, and then in the engine bay for the exhaust and the fuel rail, which is where you're most likely to get fires.
Yeah.
And that's like a powder type system to just suppress any fire.
Well, that's really good because you don't have to faff about then if there's a fire. Just you pull the lever and
pull the handle, get out. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Yeah, makes it a little bit simpler. And the ones on the outside are so if there's a big accident, perhaps I'm unconscious or something, marshals can operate it as well. Yeah. There's also a kill switch for electrics. So
is that what the two levers?
That's those two. Yeah, one's the extinguisher and the other one's the kill switch for the electrics. So if the engine's running and there's a risk of fire, they can stop the car with that.
Cool. So to add a few further things to the interview that you just saw, Sam was kind enough to let me actually sit in his race car and try on his hand device with his helmet, and it's a bit of an eye-opener sitting in his car. So he's designed the car to suit him, so the seat's nice and snug and the roll cage is really high, so it was properly difficult to get into the car. So if you've never if you've never got in a race car before, you don't so much get into it, more sort of collapse into it, I think you can say, unless you're better at gymnastics than I am. You can't get into it smoothly. Anyway, a couple of other points that he spoke about while we were talking over lunch is how he loves this particular racing championship. So he doesn't seem to be interested in racing in any other championships in terms of progressing up a hierarchy as such. He's just happy with this as a hobby, and that seems what most of the people that compete in this championship are doing. It's just an amazingly awesome hobby for them, and it's like a little community that they've got going here, and everyone seems really approachable, really happy to talk to you, so it's fantastic everything that's involved with these race weekends. So it's a definite thing to consider for anyone looking to get into racing that isn't necessarily looking to move on to bigger and better things afterwards, it seems that way. But everyone here is really happy, especially now the sun's coming out and it's not snowing anymore. So that's all I've got time for today at Brands. It was awesome seeing the Formula Jedi, or now known as Formula 1000. We used to have a video game that was on. If any of you know what video game that was, let me know, but I remember it. So yeah, off to Wilton Mill we go, and Club 100 tomorrow.